Well, hello, my crafty friends, or crafty nistas, as I call my subscribers. I am happy for you to join me for this 25 days of Christmas. So for this first craft here, I'm starting out with a piece of paper that is 8 by 12 inches. And I'm just going to take my little scoring tool here, and I'm going to score at 2 inches, at 4 inches, at 6 inches, at 8 inches, and then at 10. Then once I get all of these scored, I'm going to turn my paper here, and then I'm just going to trim off some strips in 2-inch strips. So now I am just going to slide my paper down to 6 inches, since this was 8 on that side, and then I'm going to take off 2 inches there. And this is some thick paper. This trimmer doesn't really like the thick paper, and the blades go pretty fast, so I ended up having to use another trimmer, and I need to replace the blades on this one again. But I am sliding this down again, two more inches. And I wanted to use this thick paper because it's going to be hung, and so there's going to be some tension on there, so I wanted to use some really thick cardstock. And then I'm sliding this down again another 2 inches, and then making that final cut. And there I go. Now I have my 2-inch strips. Then, like I said, I switched my trimmer, and then I'm going to cut some squares that are going to be 1 by 3/4 inches. And then I cut 20 of those. And then I'm cutting 1 1/2 by 1 1/2. I'm sorry, 1 1/2 by 1 1/2. The other one was 1 3/4 by 1 3/4. And then I'm making these to go on top of the other ones. Then I have that little bit left over. And then I'm also going to cut, I cut some of the white ones for the little sentiments, and they also are 1 1/2 by 1 1/2. And I'm only going to need 4 of those. So it was 20 of the 1 3/4 by 1 3/4, 16 of the 1 1/2 by 1 1/2, and then I used 4 of the 1 1/2 by 1 1/2. So I'm using the red as the base. And then I will be using the other printed paper with the ornaments and trees on it on top of that. And then every other, I will be using the white sentiment. So I'm going to create the 2 at the top, and then I'm using my sentiment in the middle, and then there's 2 more at the bottom, and then the very bottom one are going to leave blank because it is going to be glued on the base of the tree. So I am just showing how I'm layering these. Now I'm taking my 6x6 piece of paper and I am turning it over, and I'm using this little We Are Memory Keepers little 6x6 pad and ruler. Came in very handy trying to measure here, and I made a mark in the middle on the 3 since this is 6x6. So you're going to take your 6x6 piece of paper, and then I also made a mark on the middle of the square here. So I knew where the middle was, so I can kind of create a cohesive bottom there, so I can glue them and they'll all be even. So you glue those all on the bottom as so. And then I take another paper, and this is 6 by 1/8, and glue that down to the base. I just use a lot of score tape and glued that down on top of that. So now you have your 6x6, and then you have your 6 by 1/8 as the base on the bottom. And then you have your strips coming up showing the little tree part. The next thing I did was I took 2 strips of 2 7/8 by 3/4 of an inch, and then crossed them and then just glued them to the tops. It may look a little difficult, but it's very simple. So I just took those and glued them and gathered up the 4 corners and just used some score tape so it can hold well. Made sure it was pressed down, and then I used one more bottom piece to make a nice strong base, and this is 6 1/4 by 6 1/4. So then I took my little hole puncher and punched a hole in the middle, and then I took the two circle pieces and I just cut one 1 1/2 and then a 1-inch circle and layered those two, glue those on. Then I took a strip of ribbon and just wrung it through the bottom, and then another piece of circle, and then glued that down under the bottom. I didn't tie it, I just folded it over. Used another one of those 1 1/2 inch circles and stuck it under the bottom, and then now I have this lovely tree, and I can scrunch it down and it's ready to go. Thanks for watching, Crafty Niece.